Welcome to this reflection with me on the realities of life and faith. In the last episode, we reflected on life and its meaning at a glance. We concluded that life's meaning depends on our relationship with God. In the episode today, we will deep dive at the meaning of life. What is really life about? Do you really understand life in all its entirety, in all its aspects? Let me help you by narrating a story of a man named Job in the Bible. Job lived a long time ago. He had wealth, meaning many children, servants, plenty of animals, properties. He also had respects and high position in the society. Even God praised him as a just man. But Satan told God he was just because you bless him so much. Take away some of your blessings, Satan said, and he will curse you. So, in that scenario, God allowed Satan to punish Job, to take away many of his blessings. And God allowed Satan to do everything in the life of Job to strip him of all the things that he had, except his soul. So within a short time, Job lost everything: his wealth, his health, his respect, his dignity, and even his friends questioned his integrity to the extent that Job said in frustration, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I shall go." Now, following Job's suffering, he was full of questions of life. Why life is so unfair, in spite of his integrity? Why God? Why did God not see his suffering? So his questions God, he questions his faith, he questions everything around him. He questions life itself. And then in that process, Job was called to make many choices. Because you see, even his own wife, loving wife, when he suffered so much, she suggested to him, she said, "Curse God and die." So Job could have chosen that, but he never did, because the foundation of life never really wavers in his thought, in his belief, in his foundation. His hope and trust in God never wavered at all. And then Job, he said this about God: "Even though he slays me, yet I will hope in him." That is found in chapter 13, verse 15 of the book of Job. And then in chapter 19, verse 25, Job said, "I know my Redeemer lives." So you see, Job went from prosperity, extreme prosperity, to abject poverty. He suffered in every way possible, humanly possible. He suffered everything. He lost his wife in a sense because she gave him a very bad suggestion. He lost his friends who distrust his integrity. He lost everything about him. But then yet Job maintained his faith, the foundation of his life. He maintained his trust in God no matter what. So, in the end, in the book of Job, we read that ultimately, when he submitted himself to the wisdom of God. He trusted God fully. God blessed him many, many folds than he had lost. What did we see really in this story of Job? What do we see about life through this story? First of all, I would like us to see the reality of spiritual world. God and evil coexist. Evil was the opposition to God. And when God blessed people, Satan will always try to harm them, to cause them to run away from God, to cause them to go away from the will of God. So that is one of the things that we must be aware, the reality of God and evil. And we as human beings live in that reality where we are in between God and Satan, good and evil. And so therefore always we need to make a choice whom to believe. And sometimes God allows us to go through suffering to test us so that we can come out better than we were. Secondly, we see the fragility of life. Life is so fragile. Today you may be well off, tomorrow you may be poor. Today you may be healthy, but tomorrow you may be sick. Today you'll enjoy life, but tomorrow you'll meet with all kinds of tragedies. So when life is so fragile, it is therefore uncertain. That is why we should never trust in what we have today, because tomorrow it may change. Of course, it may change also on the opposite direction, whereas we can be suffering today, whereas we can be poor today, but tomorrow we may find ourselves that we are changing to a better positions in life. Number three, life is full of questions. Who doesn't have questions? We have so many questions about life, about poverty, about health, about sickness, about relationship, about families, about societies, about communities. We have questions in every turn of our lives. But the good news is this: God has the answers to the questions of life. He hears every question we utter. He knows everything that we go through. He knows. And so therefore, in that context, we are called to make choices every time. We are called to make choices that will draw us nearer to God or to something that is good, or we may choose also something that will take us away from God and reap further frustrations. And so I would like to say that choices always are made on the strong foundation that we have. Job had a strong foundation in God. So in that foundation, he made his choice. His hope is in God. His trust is in God. And therefore, when he made a choice with God, he did not, or he was not disappointed at the end. Let me ask you, what do you find life in your situation? How do you find it? Do you find it everything a blessing? Do you find it everything a struggle and a suffering? But that is a reality of life. And let me assure you that God knows everything that you go in life. So I would like to challenge you. Where is your hope? Where is your trust? What is your foundation? Maybe we should ponder about the life of Job and choose what he chose and trust God, and you will not be disappointed. If you feel this is helpful or you have questions, please comment on this channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. God bless.